What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Spark to Fire. I'm your host, Landon Rhodes, and today I'm rolling solo in the studio because we're talking about a really important thing in business and in life in general, and that's goal setting. So my goal was one of my first goals was to get this to you guys in January. But frankly, like things just got crazy at Grindstone. We were blessed to have a lot of growth, onboarded like 4 new employees. And so things have just been super busy here, and I just haven't had the time to really, take the attention and give it directly to Spark to Fire. So it's February just started. And I'm sure there's a couple of you that were wondering like, oh man, I should have started my goals, or I should have wrote my goals down, but I just haven't done it yet. And this podcast is for you guys. And even if you maybe wrote down some goals, but you just weren't sure if they were clear enough, you thought they could have been wrote down better, they could have been, more smart, as the acronym goes. And so what we did is the team at Grindstone here prepared what's called a goal setting sheet that helps you basically create your goals and hold you accountable throughout the year with reminders, milestones, that sort of thing. And it's in this nice little sheet, and you can go to grindstoneagency.com/goals to get this awesome booklet. And it's you can either download it and fill out the PDF, or because it's actually like a editable PDF online, or you can actually just download and print the book and write them out handwritten. But before we get started into like how to use the goal setting sheet, I just want to go through some of the statistics that are on the front end of it. So first of all, New Year's resolutions are kind of a tough topic. Like they don't really work all that well. You've heard a lot of people joke about people going to the gym and they say, oh, well, you go to the gym in February or January through mid-Feb, and that's where everyone is at the gym. The parking lot's completely full. It's super annoying. And then you get to about March and everyone's given up on their goals, their fitness goals. And then it's like nice and peaceful, quiet in the gym. Well, the sad reality is that not only happens at the gym, but that happens in everyday life. People, I read a statistic on here that the team put together, and it said, unfortunately, New Year's resolutions just don't work. Roughly 25% of people abandon their New Year's resolutions after 1 week, and 60% of them abandon them within 6 months. 6 months, guys. So the average person makes the same New Year's resolution 10 separate times without success. 10 separate times. So Dr. Gail Matthews, a psychology professor from Dominican University in California, did a study on goal setting with 267 participants. And she found that you are 42% more likely to achieve your goals just by writing them down, taking the time to process and say, I'm going to write these goals down, and this is exactly what I want to accomplish. You guys have heard of law of attraction. You've heard of just attracting things into your life. This is a part of it. You have to actually understand what it is that you want to accomplish so you can have a direct path to go there. So you're setting goals you're setting your goals today so you can succeed tomorrow. And so if 25% fail after 1 week and 60% fail after 6 months, that doesn't leave very many people left. So I want to make sure that you guys are in that tiny percentage of people that make it to the very end, and want to make sure that you are one of the 8%. After all is said and done. It says, according to Inc. magazine, researchers say that 60% of us make New Year's resolutions, but only 8% are successful in achieving them. 8%, guys. So I want to make sure you're in this 8%, and that's what this goal setting sheet is all about. So I'm going to go into step 1. So the first step is called 50 and 15. And the whole idea with this, as I kind of give you guys a little bit of a visual here to show you what's going on, is you want to write down 50 things that you want to accomplish in the next 1 to 10 years. And the best way to do that is to write your goals down in just a few words. This is like what people call a brain dump. This is when you're just writing out all the things you want. They don't have to be specific yet. They should be a mixture of material possessions, physical, spiritual, personal development-based goals. They could be spending more time with mom. They could be taking extra time to hang out with your spouse, like really, really basic stuff. And then we're going to dig into the details a little bit later. So you're going to write 50 goals and you're going to try and get it done in 15 minutes. It's just a brain dump to get everything out. And then, of course, if you need more time, that's fine. But the whole idea with this is to just, get everything out of your mind as fast as humanly possible on paper. And then you'll be able to go back and review that. So the next step after you write down 50 goals in 15 minutes is to establish a time frame. And so this is when you're going to look at it and you say, do I want to accomplish this in a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, or 10 year period? that should start to help you narrow out specific goals that have to happen this year by prioritizing things. So for instance, one of mine is I would love to have, a Ford GT and a private jet someday. That would be amazing. That is something that's like a 10-year plus goal for me. And I'm not going to get that this year. I'm not naive to the fact that that's not going to happen this year. You can attract certain things in your life as much as you want, but at the end of the day, you have to be realistic about what your vision is and where you're going. And is that the best use of money, even if I did have it this year? That's another thing that you have to think about when you're writing these things down. And so segregating them between the 1, 3, and 5 and 10-year period is really helpful to understand what's important to you most now, this year. And so what I would recommend, and what the goal setting sheet does here, is you take all the way from 50 goals that you wrote down, 50 what you see as some of the things that you'd like to achieve, and you narrow those down to 16 total. But the trick is you want to have 4 goals in each of the 4 columns of 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, and 10 years. And so I've been doing this for a while, and I love this goal setting method. This really helps me because it just, again, it goes down to what's a priority in a time frame and what's a priority amongst the other things that I think that I want. And then after that, you have to get specific. So I'll just read right off the goal setting sheet here. It says, now that you've established which goals are most important to you in the approximate time frame, ask yourself why. Is your motivation intrinsic or extrinsic? For anyone that doesn't understand what that means or hasn't heard that language before, intrinsic is something that's inside you that motivates you. It's something that it's like a pulling. It's inside of you. You can't imagine not having that thing. It's constantly on your mind. Extrinsic motivation, on the other hand, is like your boss telling you, hey, do this thing, do that thing, or a personal trainer saying, hey, you need to do 10 more push-ups, don't quit yet. That's the example of extrinsic versus intrinsic motivation. During this exercise, you may find that the items you listed earlier aren't that important to you, and that is exactly why we do it. Each goal should have a paragraph defining it to the most granular level. So this is step 4. Step 3 was narrow down. This is step 4 where we get specific. And during this process, we actually have some great spots on the goal setting sheet where you can actually get very specific about each of the goals. And I'd recommend writing a paragraph about each one. One good guide to use for this is SMART goals. So this is when you can actually say, okay, do I want to spend more time with mom, or do I want to earn an income of $100,000, or do I want to make more money? Now, see, the way you have to write that goal is, I want to have a personal income after tax of $100,000 by December 31st of 2021. You have to get very specific and granular about exactly what you want. And then in these paragraph sections here for your 1, 3, 5, and 10-year goals, you're going to write down the why behind that. Why is it important to you? Why do you care? Because, and I don't want to like blast you guys with the start with why message. Everyone's heard it. It's very overplayed. But the reason is you have to have the intrinsic motivation to get these goals done, or life is going to happen just like the rest of those 60% of people. 60% of people set resolutions and only 8% follow through with them. The reason that 8% are able to follow through is because they have hardcore intrinsic motivation to get this stuff done. And I want to make sure that, and I want you guys to make sure when you're writing down these paragraphs, you are justifying to yourself internally, why do I want to get this goal done? Why does this matter to me? Why do I care? You're writing down sentence by sentence. And here's the trick with this part. If you can't write a paragraph about why you're passionate about this goal, or why you want to get this goal done, or very specifically exactly what you want, describing the goal itself, then it's probably not that important, and then you should swap it out for another goal, maybe that you did in your 50 and 15, and then pull that down and try that one. Because as we write about these things and we understand why they're important to us, that builds our intrinsic motivation, and that's what's going to be able to carry you on the finish line when life happens and things get hard and you just want to quit. So moving on with the goal setting guide here. At step 5, we have set milestones. So this is by far one of the biggest unlocks to goal setting that I've ever found. I heard this on the Ed Milet podcast. He talked about how important it is to set milestones inside your cell phone. So what this looks like tactically is, so say ideally your company, you're just starting your company, and say you guys want to do, I just use round numbers, so $100,000 in gross revenue by the end of the year. And you take that number And you split that up by quarters and then by months. And if you want to get really specific with it, you can go by days. And so what that looks like is, okay, after month one, we should have about $8,300 of sales. After month two, we should have 16,600 roughly of what that math is. And we should constantly be mapping to where are we inside that goal. And the best way to do that is to set reminders in your cell phone. So either a reminder through Siri or a reminder in your Google Calendar that says, hey, just a heads up, you should be X dollars on the way to your goal. If you're saving money and say you want to save $12,000 this year in total savings from your paycheck, hey, it's February, at the end of February, early March, do you have $2,000 saved up? Because you should. And not everything is about money, not everything's about material possessions, but those are just the easiest ones to pick on. But say it's, a number of times you're going to church, I want to make sure I'm at church a minimum of 52 times this year. And those are goals that you can absolutely map to. So that way, if you have something going on one Sunday, you can make up for that sermon the next time. Or maybe you can watch a couple sermons online and just set rules for yourself and follow them. Because your integrity is going to be built up. If you keep personal integrity with yourself, your confidence builds. And so the idea behind setting milestones and micro goals is you're keeping the promises that you make to yourself. You're keeping the promises that you make to yourself. And that builds personal integrity and therefore builds confidence. And so that's why we set milestones, because if you set this outrageous, audacious goal for the end of the year and say you're making $20,000 a year right now and you want to make $200,000 by the end of the year, you're going to have some massive indicators that tell you that you're going to be able to do that. Or what's going to happen is you're going to burn out on the idea. You're going to say, screw that, I can't do that this year, and you're going to forget about it. But setting these milestones, setting these goals and making them attainable so you can crush them and continue to build the momentum, that builds personal integrity and that builds confidence. So step 6 on the goal setting guide, I'll just go ahead and read the last paragraph here. The two biggest things that stop people from achieving their goals is a lack of motivation and a lack of consistent momentum. Motivation will come from clearly defining your why, as we discussed earlier. To build momentum, get laser specific about your first milestone and do everything you possibly can to hit it. If you truly do the steps necessary every day to achieve your monthly milestone, you will build personal integrity day after day, and in return, you will believe in yourself more. You will start to remind yourself that when I say something will happen, it just freaking happens. And that, my friends, is momentum. And that's exactly what I want you to have in the year of 2021. 2020 sucked. It was awful, but 2021 can be a lot better. It was awful from a national perspective, but I feel like a lot of my friends and I, we had great years, and the people that are able to continue rolling with the punches, they're going to be most happy long-term. They're going to be the most fulfilled because you can't control external circumstances. You can't control a pandemic. You can't control a presidential election. What you can control is your actions every single day, and goal setting is the way to take control of your life. So thanks for listening to this episode of Spark to Fire, and keep striking.